It was an incredibly soft weekend at the box office, and there really wasn't a lot of competition. There were some hopefuls in a horror film called Abigail and a fun action film called The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. And I'll have to tell you, I've seen both of those movies, so if you haven't seen the review for The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, you will probably want to check that out right up here. And I also went to go see the horror movie Abigail because, well, it looked like it was going to be a good time. And if you're looking for the review for that, that's also going to be right up there. Check those out when you get a chance. I think you will enjoy them. They'll also be linked in the description down below. But let's return to what did happen at the box office this weekend. And it all revolves around the film Civil War. Now, before we get to that, let's take a quick look at my website, beachpunk.us, because that's one of the ways that I support myself now that I'm quote-unquote retired. What does that mean? Well, it means that you can pick up all kinds of incredible, basically unique merchandise and some limited run items that won't appear for that long. Right now on the site, there's also some items that were available in Las Vegas for the meetup that you may want to pick up later. On that note, let's get back to the story at hand, which of course is Civil War. That's right. It had a record opening last weekend, and I talked about this movie and just how incredibly boring it was, and also how much nonsense was shoved in there, but not political nonsense, just general poor writing, poor character development nonsense, which I've come to expect from Hollywood. But this headline from Kerr Erickson is, well, correct. Civil War record opening leaves A24 with more to prove. Well, against some competition, it started off a little slow, as you could see here. We're looking at some things that I think everybody would have appreciated, would have been done better. But as you can see, the daily chart from Friday tells you the tale. Abigail was in the lead, followed immediately behind with the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare and Civil War. And if you could have stopped the clocks on the Thursday-Friday cumulative total, you would have changed things significantly. And it looked like Civil War was headed the wrong direction with a 70% loss weekend over weekend. But again, that wasn't the entire tale. You see, Civil War ended up with a second place finish by the time we finished up Saturday. There was a very tight race between Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare and Abigail. Now, I don't think this would have been as tight a race had Alan Ritchson not decided to blow up his movie right before it was about to go wide, but that's a conversation that needs to be had between Lionsgate and Alan Ritchson. As far as Abigail, that may be quite the surprise. But still, A24 spent a giant chunk of change, the most expensive film for them ever, on Civil War. So we roll around to this. Civil War brought audiences together, this is hysterically funny, with $11 million second weekend win. Hence the headline, hence the thumbnail, hence the thing down below. Is that a win? Do we call that a win now? Is that really what it is? I'd be hard-pressed to agree with this characterization. So let's dive down a little farther. You have the number one movie in the country, Civil War, fending off 3 new movies. Well, maybe, but 2 of them were good. I haven't seen The Long Game yet, but I will, which will give me a chance to give a review for it. But Alex Garland's film added $11.12 million in its second weekend of release and generated a total of $44.8 million so far, and already stands as one of A24's top 5 highest grossing movies of all time. Here's the problem. They spent $50 million on it. That's the most expensive film to date, not to mention the promotional campaign. They're spending a lot of money on this movie, and I don't think it's going to make it back. But of course, we have Abigail, which, again, you can check out my review here on the channel, and then the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. And Sony apparently released something through Crunchyroll's anime distributorship, Spy X Family Code White, which I guess all three of those films opened to mixed results, according to who was this? Rebecca Rubin. Well, looking at this, I guess being R-rated, well, two of the films being R-rated, may have pulled down some numbers. But let's take a look at a broader picture. We're looking at Civil War in a very unique way, in that internationally it's got 3.3 million, probably not broad appeal there, and worldwide box office of 48 million. Now, if they've sold their rights, their streaming rights and other things already offshore, somewhere in the international markets, they may already be earning quite a pretty penny back, which will make this film profitable. But from a domestic side of things, it doesn't look like it's doing very well. We're 2 weekends in, and well, let's see. I think it falls in the not quite. It's getting there. It rose up above it's in the cone of goodness. It's not below the cone line of badness. But for how much longer? I think that's a good question. Overall, the numbers are a little telling. We're looking at these from, of course, one of my favorite sites, The Numbers, where I get data. I like data. And it says here that Civil War earned $11.1 million with a 56% drop and the largest chunk of theaters at 3,900. So did it really do well? I'm not sure I agree. At $2,832 per theater, it trails Abigail by, $200 per theater? Or just a little under that. And then you have Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare that's ahead of all of them on a per theater basis. It had a significant disadvantage opening in 2,845 theaters. But again, that's not really the tale of the tape. No. Let's show you what a real film performance looks like. Something that can leg out long term, have audience interest for quite some time, and earn near $700 million at the global box office. Again, Rebecca Rubin on this story, saying that box office sands continue to flow, nearing $700 million. Denis Villeneuve grossed $276 million in North America and $419 million overseas. A global tally of $695.8 million. Now, it would be impressive if a film like Civil War, much like the Joker movie on a very small budget, $50-60 million, was able to get close to that billion-dollar number. Then we could really have a conversation. The problem is, and I think this is to be true, people can't afford to go to the theater anymore. There are far fewer butts in seats with still occasionally impressive box office numbers. The only reason that's possible is because tickets prices have been jumping up and up and up over the course of the last 4 years, much like everything else, because inflation has really kicked into place. And as energy costs go up, everything will get more and more expensive, including the cost it is to heat and cool theaters. And it's summer, so cooling is going to be very, very important if you're in the movie business. But ultimately, can we call this a win? Or do we agree with the headline from Variety's VIP section that it still has more to prove? A24 does have more to prove. I don't know if this film will be profitable. I don't know if it's already profitable. What I do know is that they're going to need to figure out a way to separate themselves going forward. And as far as Civil War goes, I'm still unimpressed with an $11 million take of a very disappointing box office weekend. How disappointing? Well, at time of recording, we're sitting at $62,896,000. One of the worst weekend box offices in April history. Well, adjusted for inflation anyway. But my advice is to go see a couple of the new offerings and maybe measure up these numbers if you're so interested. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, once again, I'm going to point out there's a review right up there, and I thought quite highly of it. and its lack of politics and its good old-fashioned 80s action feel, which I think we all have enjoyed. Not to mention the fact that the ladies will enjoy the handsome himbos out there that are, very active eye candy, so to speak. And Abigail, the horror film, again, you'll find a review linked right up there, which just dropped today. And I think you might enjoy that as well. But check out the review ahead of time to make sure it's that kind of movie. On that note, what do you think? Do you think that Civil War has proved itself? Do you think that it will last long into the theatrical legs that it needs to be certified as a good film, or a popular film anyway? And do you think that there's a chance that this film is going to make money? I think it needs to make about $240 million to make money, but again, I could be wrong. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and let me know if you're interested in seeing a film called Challengers coming up next weekend with Zendaya and a love triangle over tennis. On that note, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya.